Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Spark and I am the owner of Unique Spark.
I'm Terry Tafoya Monroe and I am the owner and founder of Eternal Truth LLC.
Welcome everyone to part 6 of Unique Spark Heart Healing. And our question for today is, how can you deepen your connection with God for spiritual healing? And I think what I want to start off with today is talk a little bit about my faith journey.
Yes.
My faith journey began, I remember when I was 18 years old and I went up front in the high school auditorium and gave my life to Christ. Not really sure what I was doing at the time because after that I became more of a dedicated attender of church services. That's what I thought it was. And so going to church was checking off the task list box.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do anything much during the week. So I don't know if I was deepening my connection with God during the week. But as the years went by and through my working career, I would attend church off and on. But that's what I knew about God and my connection with God. Later on, I started to have daily, consistent time with God, reading the Bible, journaling, asking questions, and what I like to call in my course, a knowingness developed. I didn't hear words from God. I didn't see visions of God, but I felt Him when I would read a verse or talk to someone or have discussions about faith. I could feel the connection developing, becoming stronger. And I knew God as being faithful. I would study something in my daily conversations with Him, and maybe that Bible verse would show up in church. That's what I call faithfulness. I felt He was always loving and gentle with me. I was the critical one. He wasn't. And so I always, I was working on that connection. And but then when I started my healing journey a couple of years ago, when I started to stir the soil in my mind as far as the beliefs that I was thinking about and how they produce certain thoughts and actions, and actually I really got into my healing journey after that 2-year depression, because how did I get to that point? What was I thinking? And so then as I moved on my journey and got towards, I went through some soaking sessions, which were spending time with other women and listening for the voice of God. And when I started the heart healings, the intimate relationship, that just kind of spurred me forward, because I had an encounter with Jesus. I had 6 heart healings. I saw Him. I experienced the tenderness of Jesus. I experienced His love, His kindness, His gentleness. And I don't know when we're going to share some of those details of the heart healings, but
I'm sure there'll come a time.
I remember in my first one, Jesus rocking me as a 9-month-old, and the love that I felt from Him, and the care and the joy after that heart healing was over with.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it.
No.
It produces the peace and the freedom. And so how do you deepen your connection? Well, before I turn it over to Terry, I would say spending consistent time with God, moving through your mind, getting to what's in your heart and opening that up for Him to take and give back some healing. So how about you? How would you deepen your connection
Well, it's
with
so
God.
good, and I think what today's session is about is really helping people understand the difference between relationship and religion.
Yes.
And for me, I had a way different situation than you. I didn't go to church at all, but I was always drawn to God.
Right.
I always had this deep connection. I know now after heart healings that it's because he was with me in the most traumatic times of my trauma as a child. He was there with me. And I didn't know that. I just always knew I had this deep connection with him. I was a little rebel, though, and it wasn't until I got married that I really decided, you know, I'm going to have a baby now, and I need to be a mom. And so I dedicated my life at age of 19, got baptized at 19, and did a complete turnaround of I don't swear, I don't drink, I don't do anything. I'm a mom now.
Yeah.
So there was a part of me that probably went into a little bit of religious mindset without meaning to, because now everything was like, that's bad. That's bad. So I raised my children like that. And, you know, I do want to share something that I feel like the Lord had me write to them in my book.
Yes.
And it really helped me. So the whole point in my journey was that once everything exploded, then I really realized there was a void in me. And I didn't know what that void was. And I was trying to fill this void in this marriage. I was trying to fill this void as a mother. And when all those things are gone and you feel like you don't have an identity anymore, you actually realize that you really didn't know who you were to start with. And so if God created us before he knew us in our mother's womb, it means he knew who we were. And so the whole point of this was to get me to this place of actually knowing him. So for me, it was an encounter, and it was a beautiful encounter, something I'd never experienced. I went to church now from the age of 19 to 44. We went every Sunday. I was in Bible studies with women. I knew lots of books of the Bible, but I didn't have a whole lot of encounters at this point in time. And God had brought me, you know, a lady and my ex-sister-in-law to pray over me. And in that prayer, she put her hand on my head, and I literally felt stuff sucked out of me. I felt the presence of God. And the difference is not only did I feel the stuff taken out of me, I felt the exchange of God's love.
Yes.
The amount of love that I felt that came over me is unexplainable. And it's not anything that any human could give to you.
Right.
So we're seeking this relationship with humans to fill this void that we're longing for from God. And so that was the turning point in my life, and I was 44 years old, and nothing has changed. It just has gotten deeper of wanting to know more. And so something that I wrote to my kids in my dedication of my book is that, you know, I am so sorry for the hurt and pain that I caused you. And I'm actually feel like I'm speaking to other people out there that possibly were raised in a religious home. So I'm actually standing in the gap right now, being your mother as well, saying this to you as well. And so I am so sorry for the hurt and pain I caused you through your childhood. I controlled and manipulated through religious lies, through fear and through pride, for caring what the world thought of me and of us. Vanity of the importance of how we looked. I can't change that now. I told you that maybe someday you would understand why I walked away from everything, and I know that I looked crazy. I taught you what I knew, and I didn't know the truth.
Yes.
I didn't know God's real love. My relationship with him was delusional and conditional, but not because of him, because of me. And I needed to fill a void in my heart that I've had my whole life. And I finally found that hidden key, which is love. It's unconditional love that included loving myself. So in God's word, he actually says, love your neighbors, you love yourself.
Right.
And when you're in religion, you're just like, okay, love your neighbors, you love yourself.
Right.
But when you actually hear that through the love of God, you have to love yourself first.
Yes.
So
Yes, right.
most of us
Yes.
don't know how to love ourselves.
Oh no! And sometimes there's generational beliefs that come up. Like for me, loving yourself was being selfish.
Yeah, or prideful.
You know? Yeah,
or
prideful.
arrogant.
Yes, don't show off
Yeah.
yourself. You know, be quiet.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And that was the turning point for me is that I didn't love myself. And how could I love myself? I had been in a broken relationship after a broken relationship after a broken relationship, trying to find this love. And at this point in time, I'm journaling every day. I'm sitting with the Lord. I'm hearing from heaven through journaling. I'm being led to things that need to be healed. And it was this process. And then we come into, heart healing.
Yeah.
And in the heart healing, like you, was the first time I saw Jesus' face.
Yes.
And I had asked him for so long, like, I need to see your face. I need to see your face. And in that moment, I saw his face, and he held me. And we were in a sunflower field. And I ran to him, and he just held me. And there's just nothing like it. And so I really feel like why we're talking about this right now is we really want people to understand that there's a huge difference between religion and a relationship.
Yes.
And like dating, when you meet somebody new, you want to get to know them.
Right.
You want to get to know things about them.
And you can't trust them until you get to know them.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't trust God.
No, I did not trust God at all.
And it's important. That's how you move forward. That's how you connect.
Yep.
You connect through that trusting
Absolutely.
relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. The trust was huge. It's still an issue.
Yes.
And he would actually say to me, "You don't trust me." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't trust you."
Yeah.
But what I had to come to understand is that God didn't make any of the stuff in my life happen.
Yeah.
People did.
Yes.
Humans' choices, the right to choose.
Right.
So I'm just hoping that through this course and these teachings that people, when they hear like us praying and that they see like, oh, they're so religious, that they actually will understand that you and I have gone through an amazing journey.
Yes.
And we've really got to understand the love of God.
And we want that journey for you.
Yeah, we really
that's
do.
what we
really
want.
do.
Before you get to the question for the day, I want to read from James 4, verse 8. Because our question is, how can you deepen your connection with God for spiritual healing? And James 4, verse 8 says, draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. So it's our first steps that start the process.
Absolutely.
And I want to encourage you to take consistent steps of action of spending time with God in the Word. And I know sometimes the Bible is confusing. It can be, for some people I've heard, oh, it's so boring to read the Bible. But there are study Bibles. There are groups that you can get connected with.
Absolutely.
That helps you understand the Bible. But we want to draw near to him to get to know who he is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
For me, he took me to the book of Matthew. And he actually, because I was such a religious person, I lived in the Old Testament like, oh, you're going to go to hell, you're going to die. And I was all for that. And then he wanted me to learn love. And I didn't know love. I was in a fight and flight,
Fighting and
fighting my whole life.
You didn't know anything
I
different.
didn't know anything different. And in that fight and flight to protect yourself, you defend yourself. So I love the Old Testament. So what God did for me, and maybe this will help everyone else, is read the book of Matthew, and you start to understand like God was loving. So to segue into the call of action today for the journal.
And before you do that, I want to share, when I first started reading, I loved the book of Proverbs. And I would read one of those every day of the month because Proverbs deals a lot with the mind, and I'm fascinating by the mind because it's the greatest tool that God has given us, is to renew our minds and align with him. So that is another good area, and some people love the Psalms.
I was just going to say, Psalms actually deal with emotions, and if you're a really emotional person, you'll see that the Bible actually has all those emotions being talked about in Psalms.
Right.
I agree with that. Matthew was hard for me to go to, but God really wanted me to understand real love. Real unconditional love, not like the love I'd known here. And so
good.
That's so good. So in our call to action today for journaling, one way to get to know God is that God is fruit of spirits, and he is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So what I would love for everybody to do is to write those 9 fruits down and see which of those you relate to. So a big thing for me was realizing I did not walk in love, because when I first wrote those fruits down, I think the only one I actually, I was kind. And Very kind. So for me to get closer to God, I had to become more like him, which means I had to become more compassionate and more gentle and more understanding, which I feel like you're so good at. I feel like that. Have you always been like that?
No,
Really?
not at all.
Really?
No,
Okay.
I've become more consistent with the fruits of the Spirit.
Okay.
But I don't really think about the fruits of the Spirit. I think it is the benefit of having a personal and intimate relationship with God.
It is. It
and
really
putting
is.
on the armor of God daily.
Oh my gosh,
which
yeah.
we're going to do in a later session.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah.
So important. So we hope that we helped everybody. We hope we sparked something in you of really putting away belief systems and religion and opening up the idea to this new journey of a relationship with understanding who
Yes.
God and Jesus are.
Happy connecting.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon.